What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Victory Drive. On this episode, we have a very special guest for you. His name's Dwayne Phillips, and we are going to go over the recent ATF, I don't even want to call it an ATF law, the ATF ruling, because as we were talking a little bit before I hit the record button, the ATF is not a legislative body in government. So this new ATF Pistol Brace ruling that they came out with, we're going to touch on that and among some other things. So, Dwayne, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And so you're with Red Arrow Weapons, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We are at a little small American-owned Freedom Factory, pumping out some, some good all-American ARs in various calibers. We've been around for a few years, since, the middle of 2019. Actually, the most common question I get is about the name, Red Arrow Weapons.
Yeah.
We were kind of a natural spawn of the original organization called Red Arrow or Red Arrow TV. Kip Campbell, he and his wife, Kat, have been business partners for 15 plus years producing Red Arrow TV, which is a top-rated outdoors hunting show, one of the top-rated in America, actually. They established themselves in that market and have done quite well just off of being themselves. I mean, they are, they come from the country. They're as American as it gets. They're hardworking folks that really haven't lost touch with their roots, even though they've been quite successful in the entertainment business by producing the hunting show. And, back in 2019, Kip had already started using the AR platform when he was hunting. He's been, out in the field for over 35 years as a hunter and outdoorsman. And he kind of fell in love with the versatility and the dependability of the AR platform. And he was already using it, to hunt large game and such. And just through some of his mutual connections was able to start the gun business. And, he really came out with a specific focus. He wanted not to, price his gun beyond the reach of the average Joe, the average Joe that's out there working a 8-to-5 job, getting his hands dirty every day. But also he wanted to put a gun out that was extremely dependable and high quality. We always get, this look of shock the first time someone pulls the trigger on one of our guns because we didn't recreate the wheel. We use a 2.5-pound CMC single-stage trigger, and when that nice crisp break goes off with the slightest pressure, it always gives this tremendous shock and ear-to-ear smile with people.
Oh, yeah.
But, you pair that with sub-MOA barrels and, the highest grade parts, and you've got a dependable gun that is accurate out of the box, and all you have to do is throw an optic on it. Comes with a lot of the upgrades that most people go back and add on. So that's kind of been, one of our claims to fame at Red Arrow Weapons is high quality at an affordable price.
Yeah, because you guys do have multiple different, guess price levels. Like you guys have a baseline AR that is actually very, very affordable. I can't remember off the top of my head what the price is on that or what's called.
No, it is, and depending on what deal you get, whether you're in because we do partner with some retail locations as well. We do have a price point 556. The only difference is it comes without the CMC trigger because those, are one of the more costly upgrades that we add on. But it gave an option to come in at a lower price point for the folks that really struggle with some of the ones that are over $1,000. But we also covered the gamut. Kip really fell in love with the versatility because the AR platform is great for hunting, sport shooting, but also for home defense.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're going to make ARs, you have to make a 5.56. So obviously we have that in a few different options. We have the 300 Blackout, the 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and all of those come in a rifle option. The 308 and the 5.56 and the 300 blackout actually come in pistol options as well, along with different options for 9mm, which we introduced this year. So, we doubled our offering in product over the past year, just in time for the ATF to come in and spoil our party because, we put out a lot of really sweet pistols.
Oh, yeah.
And, this is not going to stop us. I mean, we're going to keep towing the line as far as we can and doing what we do. But, it makes it a lot more difficult for you to market your product when you've got a government agency trying to fill everyone with fear.
Oh, for sure. And before we get into that, I do want to go back because with Red Arrow weapons, like we were talking about, you guys have your baseline, but even your top end Red Arrow weapons that you guys put out, you're not talking any more than like you're in the ballpark of like a Daniel Defense. I think most Daniel Defenses are a little bit more than what you guys are coming in at, and the quality you guys are putting out looks absolutely amazing. I'm talking from a point of ignorance a little bit because I've never actually shot a Red Arrow weapon yet, but there's a local dealer in my area that does carry them, and so
look, we can remedy that.
Oh yeah,
really quick.
Oh yeah,
but no, you're absolutely right. We are focused on staying below the $2,000 mark. You get a lot of your really high quality ARs on the market, and you're not going to stand a chance of getting one even close to $2,000.
Oh, absolutely.
So you can't get the same great quality without breaking your bank. And, depending on the color scheme or the option you pick, I mean, you're looking at anywhere, from a little bit over $800 to sub $2,000 for really high quality weapons.
Oh, absolutely.
Making the 308 and the pistol option and the rifle option has been very successful for us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it, the 308 is America's workhorse, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You can do anything with it except squirrel hunt. And,
well, you could do that.
Yeah, you could, but it wouldn't be very productive.
No.
So
unless you just really
so
hate
that's
squirrels.
our number one selling caliber. But we had a lot of people really excited when we came out with a 308 pistol with a 13-inch barrel because it means a lot to hunters, not just the weight that you're carrying around, but also the maneuverability. When you talk about something that's great for home defense or out in the field, it was just the right length, just the right weight to counterbalance recoil, while giving you the maneuverability, whether you're in tight spaces or in the brush. So, this has been a huge blow to a lot of our customers and the customers, frankly, of everyone in the market.
Yeah, it's this whole the whole pistol brace thing. Because I did notice when I was looking at your guys' website a while back, you guys had pistol braces on your website on your pistols, right? And I went back and looked at it just like last week and noticed that now all your stock photos of your AR platform pistols are all just buffer tubes with the little spongy pad on the end, little spongy buffer tube.
Yeah, and that kind of impacts how you feel about it a little bit.
It does. It's one of those things where you're looking and it's like, my God, like this is wild to me how, first of all, I'm under my personal thought process in the whole thing is I feel like you should be able to just have a short-barreled rifle without having to go through the ATF or submit a $200 tax stamp to the ATF because of the NFA. Like, I don't think that short-barreled rifles should even be a discussion in the as an NFA item, nor do I think suppressors should be. It's one of those things where like the history of the NFA, like we were talking earlier, was because of organized crime and all this other stuff. And back in the 1930s when it was implemented, when the NFA got implemented, it was a $200 tax stamp. And back in those days, $200 was basically doubling the cost of the rifle. Again, is financially the government was trying to make it financially unfeasible for an average American to buy a machine gun or a short-barreled rifle or a short-barreled shotgun or a suppressor. And now, like, as inflation goes up, that tax stamp didn't increase in price. So now all of a sudden a bunch of NFA items started selling really well because it's not that much to give up which I still think is an infringement on our rights as Americans to have to pay $200 in order to buy a gun that the government deems too short.
Sure.
And so then the pistol brace comes out, and it met all the requirements. The ATF looked at it, and over, it's been challenged a couple times here and there, and the ATF kept coming back the same every time, saying, nope, it's legal. It goes within the confines of the rules that are set in place by the NFA that we've interpreted and did what we need to do. It's 100% legal. No worries. No problem whatsoever with a pistol brace and selling these AR platform type, pistols. There's no reason why you can't put that on. It's totally legal. Still qualifies as a quote unquote pistol. So you're good. Go for it. So then millions of these get sold, and now out of nowhere they decided that it's no longer legal.
Well, and at the drop of a hat, without any opportunity to have grandfathering or really without any warning other than a bunch of rhetoric, which we'll get into that, but they basically just completely abandoned their previous rhetoric and went in a different direction. But I'm proud of what we do at Red Arrow Weapons. I'm proud of the products we make. Yeah. And, one day, having to flip in one day from a really sweet weapon to something with just a padded buffer tube is kind of like coming home one day and finding your son dressed in capri pants. Yeah. It just ain't right.
Like he's still your son, but he doesn't.
But he's in capri pants.
He's in capri pants. So
it's not right, man.
It ain't right. Put on regular pants.
That's
How are you
exactly
gonna,
right.
How are you going to wear boots and capris?
I know.
No.
So
that's a great analogy.
I've got a lot of hurt feelings about all this, but I'll keep my common sense about me, and we'll have an intelligent conversation about it.
Hey, we can go wherever you want to go. No, but that is a great analogy because it is the same. Like it's still your son, but he's in capri pants. Like it's still an AR pistol, but it ain't got no pistol brace on now. Yeah. So now you just got this buffer tube with a little sponge on the end. Yeah.
It's very disappointing.
It is very disappointing.
And
you touched on it earlier where the short barrel pistols and short barrel rifles type thing, like it is a huge disservice to hunters as well that do want to go out in the field with a little bit lighter weapon. Say they're going out hiking, say they have long hiking, whether you're out hunting out west or whatever you're doing. It's a huge disservice to those guys that should be able to grab a weapon that has a shorter barrel if they want it, and it's really sad that it's come to this. It's one of those things where I'm glad it is getting challenged, but man, it really makes you wonder what is going through the minds of some of these, these alphabet agencies like the ATF that are, I don't know, they definitely seem hell-bent on just I still don't understand why. Like why they'd say that it's okay one time, like multiple times they'd say everything's fine, it's totally legal, and you're good to sell them. And then just at the drop of a dime, change it. Like it doesn't make sense to me unless they were getting pressure from the Biden administration. It's really the only thing that makes sense.
Well, I was able to attend their online WebEx presentation. The day that this rule went into effect, they at least were kind enough to set up a WebEx presentation with a PowerPoint to run through the rule and the key points with, anyone with an FFL that wanted to attend. And it was very apparent to me or it felt as if they weren't even really sure why, except just this is what we're doing. And as we went through the presentation and the question and answer period started, there was obviously a lot of ambiguity and back and forth, even in that presentation that I would have thought would have been well polished and well rehearsed. But I guess if you're just throwing something against the wall to see if it sticks, then you do the best you can with it. So,
well, that's exactly what it feels like. It just feels like they had to have gotten pressure from somewhere higher up saying, and I don't know if you want to get into like the kind of the history of certain things that the ATF has done when they maybe, I don't know the whole reasoning behind it, but like when you think back on Ruby Ridge and that whole debacle and how the FBI and ATF kind of just screwed that whole thing up. If you guys, I don't want to get into the whole history of Ruby Ridge. I'll probably do something on it at a later date because that's a whole episode in itself, but go look up what happened at Ruby Ridge in Idaho. Yeah. And it's insane. And then also everyone knows about Waco, and it's like I don't know if the ATF, if they're just like they need to flex their own agency might every once in a while and kind of try to put the Americans back in place. Basically, is what it feels like. It's like, you guys are getting a little out of control, and we can't get anything passed, or the administrations can't get anything passed. So we've been told to kind of take it into our own hands and just make our own arbitrary gun laws, I guess, since we're the regulating force within the federal government.
And that, you just touched on one of the key points. If you think back a few years, there was this big lawsuit. West Virginia sued the EPA, sued the federal government because they said they were making up arbitrary and overly burdensome laws that impacted the mining industry. And the end result of that situation was that it was determined that government agencies cannot make law. That's why we elect officials to our government. Mm-hmm. In good faith, we elect the people we think will do the best job to represent us to make the laws of our land, not just to have them arbitrarily made and flip-flopped back and forth by appointed individuals and agencies.
Absolutely.
They are there to enforce, not to create.
Absolutely. It's definitely a weaponization of the federal government, no matter what administration is in charge. And this goes way beyond being Democrat and Republican. It really does, because if you're okay with the ATF in this pistol brace rule that they set out, like I said, I'm going to call it a rule, not a law. The ATF rule that they put out, if you're okay with that, whether you're Republican or Democrat, then okay, let me rephrase this. Even if you are anti-gun and you're okay with this, that's still wrong, because who's to say that they're not going to have some other agency come knocking at your door and take away whatever rights you feel are more important? Like we've already seen absolutely. With the whole, everything the past few years, we've seen the First Amendment under attack with, freedom of speech and everything else, and speech getting squandered and being cut out of certain circles and certain social areas, whether it's social media or YouTube or whatever else. People have been getting, kind of told to just be quiet and toe the line on certain things.
Yeah.
And now it's the same thing with, with gun laws and everything else. Like, just because an administration can't pass certain gun laws because they're overstepping doesn't mean it's okay for them to weaponize an agency and say, do this because you guys have the power to arrest them if they break this rule that you set. That's not right.
Well, and it could even be more premeditated than that. I mean, you think about what an enemy does to your lines. If you've got a strong front, they're going to be probing. They're going to probe here, see if that works. They'll probe there, see if it works. And, this could simply also be just probing our gun rights to see where they can gain success. Where can we establish a list of these guys? Where can we take some things away from them or put them under our thumb? Where does it stop? I mean, does it stop with guns? Does it then spread to your gas propane stoves?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Are you going to go and just serve 15 to 20 because you went camping and use a gas bottle on your camp stove? Where does it end, right? So, we have freedoms that should be protected by our government. That's one of the reasons our government is there, is to protect our freedoms.
Absolutely.
Not to take them away. And that's the reason that we have the democratic system that we do, founded from the very beginning, where we elect our officials to represent us when the laws are made, and to also have a say in who is appointed to enforce those laws. The whole checks and balances. And dare I even open the Second Amendment box to talk about the reason that the Second Amendment is even there. I mean, It's to protect, so we can protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. You think about the frame of mind that the founding fathers were in when they established our Constitution. Yeah. They had just overthrown a tyrant that had, tried to control them and unfairly, put burdens on them. They have won their freedom, and they wanted to make sure that our country, that the citizens generations down the line didn't have to face that same experience that they did. And hey, listen, I'm not throwing a suggestion out there that we do anything other than to say our Second Amendment is there just for this reason, to make sure that we have the right, not just to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government, but to defend our home, to defend our families. And if you start limiting that and taking it away, it puts your law-abiding citizens at a huge disadvantage, because the last time I checked, there wasn't a thug out there or anyone with a nefarious intent that cared what gun they were carrying. No. They didn't go and check the local gun laws to make sure they were going to be within code before they went and shot up a house or robbed a liquor store. And so, when you talk about, modern experiences here in America, in a lot of places, people are afraid to sleep at night because, when our parents were young, they didn't even have locks on their door in most places in America. It was that safe. No one was going to come in your house. Now you don't even feel safe if you've got two deadbolts and your door locked because someone will kick it in and invade your house knowing you're home. So, limiting my ability to defend my home, my wife, my children, it just seems to feel tyrannical to me. So,
for sure. And, when we're talking about, you gave me shivers a little bit there talking about that, but it's like one of those things where when you were talking about amendments and, like you said, putting yourself in the frame of mind that the founding fathers were in when they're writing the whole Constitution, the Bill of Rights out in the first place, the First Amendment protects your speech, right? It protects what you say. And in my opinion, that is the most important. That's why it's first, because the only thing more dangerous than, that could be potentially more dangerous to a tyrannical government is speech, is freedom of press, is freedom of expression, and all these things. Being able to talk like what we're doing right now and put it out there for whoever wants to listen to it. This is very, very important, and it's very vital to a free and open society. And that is the most destructive thing for a tyrannical government. The second most important thing for a free and safe society when it comes to tyrannical government's sake is owning weapons, is being able to protect yourself, protect your loved ones, and protect your cities. And if we don't have weapons, then we can't really do shit about anything. If they want to, no matter who it is, whether it's the government or it's your neighbor down the road, or it's some random thug that wants to come and violate your home and your family members. If you don't have the means to protect yourself, then you're just really fucked in the whole situation. And it is sad that the government is really, especially the federal government, because to my limited understanding of government and how this country was formed, is the federal government was put in place to make sure that the states were following the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and not violating those tenets of the country. And now it's the complete opposite. Now it's the federal government was meant to be the check on the state, on the citizen, if that makes sense. If you're going down that tier, if your state decided, hey, we're going to outlaw certain speech, we're going to outlaw certain guns, we're going to outlaw these things that are blatant violations of your rights as an American, then the federal government is supposed to step in and say, hey, state, you're doing this wrong. This is a violation. Knock it off, or there's going to be repercussions. Now it's the complete opposite. The states are checking the federal government and trying to save the rights of the individuals, which is completely ass backwards. But
Absolutely. And you know what? As a matter of fact, you touched on a very key part of this whole conversation. I mean, you look back over the last few years. Look at what is happening now as all the skeletons are falling out of the closet since Elon Musk took over Twitter, right? Yeah. He's exposing them for, limiting people's free speech, for censoring people that wanted to speak out against the narrative that certain groups wanted to put out. So if you take away our right to free speech and then you take away our ability to defend ourselves against you, you own us. I mean, So, I'm not a very bright man. I grew up in Alabama on a farm, and we raised poultry and beef cattle. And I can tell you what we did. If we had an animal, let's say we had a beef that was causing problems. For example, some cows, they just don't want to stay fenced in. They'll jump the fence every time. Or some bulls are just so much trouble destroying your fence trying to go where he wants to go that you just have to get rid of them. So I see it in my simple mind the same way. Us bad little sheep that don't just line up and go where we're told to go and try to do what we want to do, they're trying to get rid of us. They're trying to limit us.
Oh, yeah.
So
and this
that's what it feels like, at least.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does feel like that, because I'm kind of the same as you. I didn't grow up in Alabama, but I grew up in rural Iowa, which is, I didn't grow up a farmer or nothing, but my dad was a carpenter. And
don't matter, man. We're distant cousins.
Yeah.
Iowa and Alabamians are distant cousins, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I believe it. But it's one of those things where especially if you live in a rural community,
right.
We just look at these things differently. We look at guns differently than someone that grew up in the city. When I talked to this on a previous podcast I did with a buddy of mine, but I'll say it again because it is very important. Where someone that grows up in the city at a young age, they see crime being committed, people getting shot and killed in the streets or whatever, people getting mugged and burglarized and everything else, and they see a gun as that's what that is. It's a right. memory of something bad happening all the time.
And bad people hurting good people.
Bad people hurting good people with guns. Like the gun is a symbol of crime, and that's not how rural people see guns. We look at guns and we look at them as a tool, a means to an end.
Sure. When
you're out in the country, we use them for hunting, or if you're on the farm, like you
Absolutely.
said, you need to take out some like a troublesome bull or whatever else. They generally
coyotes that are
trying to take exactly. You use a
Absolutely.
gun to defend yourself from all the other critters that are out there, and also to there's another podcast I was listening to. This guy, he's barred from owning guns. He's a felon, and I think he violated the Lacey Act. But he lived on a ranch, and I think one of his hog buildings or something caught on fire. And he was watching his pigs in there being burnt alive, and there's nothing he could do about it because he couldn't have a gun to shoot them and put them out of their misery. So he had to listen to them and watch them squeal and burn to death. It's one of those things where us rural people, we look at guns completely different than the city people do. But it's not up to the cities to, I guess, decide what rights are most important. We're a country where we're a huge country. There's so many different people in this country, and it's not up. It shouldn't be up to the few to tell the many or whatever. It's not. No one should be telling someone else how to live their life as long as they're living it peacefully and within the confines of the law.
100%.
And like you said earlier, if I'm not mistaken, murder, burglary, breaking and entering, all those things are illegal already. So
Absolutely.
If you have the mindset that you're going to violate someone's privacy, burglarize their home, steal their shit, and hurt them, I feel like you're going to have that same mindset whether or not guns are legal for law-abiding citizens to own or not. You're still going to do those things.
That's absolutely right. And you're going to find a way to make it happen. And, I had rather police the bad people and support the good people that are going to be on my side if I'm in charge. As a matter of fact, there's a reason that America never got invaded. Well, at least until recently.
Right.
There's a reason that in World War II, the Japanese didn't invade America because they said, we're not going to invade America because Americans have a gun behind every blade of grass. They knew that we were prepared to defend ourselves. And if you take that away, I mean, who knows what travesty could befall us all? Not only our government, but whoever comes in and takes over that government. Yeah. It's when we think about our law enforcement, and you know what? We fully support our law enforcement and our first responders. I mean, we can't honor them enough.
Absolutely.
But, the law enforcement officers talk about that thin blue line that separates the bad guys from the good. They're holding the line. And, if you remove us law-abiding citizens' ability to take care of our own, to provide for ourselves, then you're going to be left with masses that just are forced to line up and depend on the government to take care of them, and they're forced to do whatever the government says.
Yep.
And that's just not what our country was founded to be.
No, it wasn't. And it's one of those things too. You look at other countries, especially like third world countries and stuff and everything else, and you look at all the travesties that happen with a very select group of people holding all the power, all the wealth, and a small group of people holding all that power and wealth. Then they do have control over the whole population. And people think about like Mexico, for example, like with the cartels. Like, why don't the people just fight back and tell the cartels to piss off and not do all these atrocities? Well, they can't because they're poor, and they're poor because they only a select group of people just have all the money and power. And it's the same thing in America. If we allow just a small core group of people to decide everything for us, then we're all going to be left like that. We're all going to be left at the whims of what they want us to do for them, basically.
And you know what? For those of us that have been to third world countries, I've been to third world countries in Central America and Africa, and I've seen that firsthand. I mean, you've got the only defense people have other than machetes or maybe a homemade shotgun, if you can find a bullet or find a shotgun shell. They're left powerless against the corrupt people that are, calling the shots. And people disappear all the time. The vast majority of people are just trying to get by day to day. And, the law that is holding everything together is whatever is common in your neighborhood and whoever's calling the shots. And you don't have the ability to stand up against them. No. And if you go through generations of that, people become prisoners of their own culture. And, I have to believe that that's one of the things our founding fathers had in mind when they established our Constitution in such a way that we would be able to protect ourselves and defend ourselves.
Absolutely. It's just, I don't know, we really can't express it enough. And it's just one of those things like America, whether you believe it or not, America is the best country in the world as far as being able to, if you live in America, you've already drawn the lottery. Like the poorest people in this country are considered extraordinarily wealthy in other countries.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things where if you're living in America, you're living in the best country in the world, in my opinion. And also if you just look around and realize we are living pretty damn good. It's like that for a reason. We are the model of freedom for a reason. And, freedom isn't always pretty. Liberty isn't always pretty. It's one of those things where it's not, the founding fathers could never guarantee your safety as an American, but what they could try their best to guarantee is your freedom to do what you want, the freedom to protect yourself if you have to, and the freedom to be who you want to be and not be held back by a small group of people that hold all the power. It's, you look back in the whole revolution and everything else, it's like they were pissed off about a tea tax. Now look at how many damn taxes we have. It's like,
I know.
and all the shit we have to deal with is really starting to build up. And that's why, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to being a gun owner, being a responsible gunner, there's a lot of responsibilities that come with owning a gun. We all know this. But it's
absolutely
one of those things, too, where we've given up so much. We've given up so many different things just because we want to appease the other side. We're like, okay, I understand that this shooting was really bad, and a really bad person came in and did some really bad things with a gun. I do understand that. And I hear you, and I understand your sadness and your grief. And okay, we'll give in on assault weapons, because yeah, you're right. No one really needs an AR-15. No one really needs an AK-47. So yeah, okay, we'll give on that. Well, then guess what? Now, fast forward a year, maybe, if we're lucky or so, another mass shooting happens. It's like, oh man, this is a really bad thing that happened, and he did it with a shotgun. So we really don't need slugs for our shotguns, do we? Do we really need those things? Those things that killed all these people? It's like, where do we stop? Where do we as gun owners and as Americans say, all right, enough's enough. We've given enough. We've given enough of our rights up in order for some semblance of safety, if you want to put it that way. Like, where do we draw the line on rights and what we're giving in the name of safety, public safety?
Well, and the problem with that is the bad guys don't obey the rules. They don't stop coming. All you do is just empower them and embolden them more. Mm-hmm. But, here's what I like to ask people. When someone asks, why do we really need AR-15s or AR-10s or, any kind of let's just go with semi-auto guns. Because let's face it, there were semi-auto rifles that had high-capacity magazines way back in the early 1900s, and they were marketed to ranchers.
Yeah, right.
So look, here's what I like to ask. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. George Washington and the leaders of his army, they recruited average Joes to come in and fight against the tyrants, right? Mm-hmm. If they had the option to use an AR style or a semi-auto gun, do you think they would have used it? 100% they would have used it. And not just in battle. They would have used it on the home front, on their home, to protect their livestock, to protect their family. It's a tool. And if they had been around back then, when they first wrote the Constitution, absolutely, they would have been using them. And everyone in America would have owned one. And, guns are not bad. They're no more bad than a knife. They're no more bad than the hammer that was used to murder someone. Mm-hmm. It's a tool. And you have to handle it responsibly. And, having children, that is an important aspect of my life. Mm-hmm. I've taught them from the moment they were able to understand about what guns are, what gun safety is. And, I've been very blessed to have children that are obedient. They're very respectful sportsmen and sportswomen out in the field. As a matter of fact, they're so good that, I have struggled to be able to take a deer myself every season because I'm so busy skinning theirs. Yeah. And I'm sitting here right now looking at my freezer full of 100% natural organic venison that I acquired using my AR platform rifle. Mm-hmm. So,
but you don't use those for hunting, though. I thought no one uses an assault rifle for hunting. It's only for war. It's a weapon of war, right?
Well, and that's the other point I like to really educate people on is, an assault rifle is any rifle that was used to assault someone.
Yeah, exactly.
An AR rifle is an Armalite rifle. Mm-hmm. It was founded on the Armalite rifle platform. That's why we call them ARs. It doesn't stand for assault rifle. No. You know what? The Armalite rifle platform is very suited to the field. Sure, am I going to shoot a deer 30 times with a 30-round mag? No, probably not. But it's very dependable. You can drag the thing through the mud, blow it off, and it keeps on working. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of guns out there that have so many intricate parts that you get a little bit of grit in them and they stop working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's very well suited to the field. As a matter of fact, we sell, even in states that have magazine limits in their hunting regulations, we still sell them there, and people just buy lower capacity magazines. Mm-hmm. It's not about the number of cartridges that it holds. It's about the dependability and the versatility of the platform. And that's why we chose that when we started putting out high quality guns, because they work and they're dependable when you need them.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? Let me tell you something. I mean, I know I didn't coin this term on my own. It's been around for a long time, but where I grew up, where I live in the country, you might be waiting 20 minutes plus, if you're lucky, to get some law enforcement officer out to help you in the middle of the night if someone is, meaning harm to your family. In a lot of situations, you are 911. So I want the capacity to be able to defend my family and my home if I have to. With that being said, it's very rare when I'm in a setting that is legal that I'm not armed with a firearm.
Oh, yeah.
And I pray to God every day that I never have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had rather be prepared and never have to use it than to need it once and not have what I needed.
Absolutely. And that's why I carry everywhere that I can, too, because it's one of those things where it's just one of those pieces on me where I'm like, okay, I want to carry this because, like you said, I pray to God every day that I don't ever have to use it. And I never have used it, nor do I actually think I will use it, especially here in small town Iowa. No, I probably won't. But I still carry it every day. For one, just so it becomes a part of that daily carry, because like you said, if something happens, I can't choose when a bad guy decides to do something bad. Right. I don't set that date. He sets that date. So it's on me to be ready at all times, just in case. And it's just like having a fire extinguisher in your home. Like, you're crazy if you don't have a fire extinguisher in your home, because how long does it take for a fireman to respond to a fire? It takes them a while, and your house could be burnt down by then. It's the same. It's the same kind of thought process that I have with carrying a gun on me, where it's like, okay, yes, I probably won't need it, but it's still stupid not to have it if I can have it, and as long as I'm carrying it legally in wherever I can legally, because it's just like the fire extinguisher, like firemen and police officers are both first responders. They both respond to incidences as fast as they can, but sometimes it's just not fast enough. So why wouldn't you go out in the world more prepared?
Absolutely.
So,
and you know what? If you know there's a reasonable chance that I'm armed, you're going to tread a lot lighter when you come to kick my door in than you would thinking that maybe I don't have any way to defend myself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, even people that are high, a lot of times they're going to know, don't kick in that door because the dude's going to shoot me up, or he's got a big dog. They're going to choose an easier target because,
sure.
I spent a good bit of time working in the correctional setting, and I had firsthand access to a lot of people that had made bad decisions. Mm-hmm. And every one of them told me the same thing. You've got two things that deter you from a burglary. If you've got a well-lit or an area that lights up with motion, they don't want anything to do with that. They don't want to be seen. And if you have any dog, even if it's a little yapper that makes noise, they don't want any part of that because it draws attention to them. But beyond that, criminals are always taking the path of least resistance.
Yep.
Whatever's going to give them the outcome they want with the least amount of effort or the least amount of risk, that's the route they're going to take. So if you have a society that's unarmed, everybody's fair game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's one of those things too where if you look back, if you want to talk mass shootings for a second here, look at where all the mass shootings have taken place. Like, they're all in places where you can't carry. And I know this point has been proven or been brought up multiple times to no avail to the people that want to take the anti-gunners. But think about this: how many times in the history of the country even has like a gun show gotten shot up, or a gun store gotten held up by gunpoint? Like, that stuff just doesn't happen very often. Right. And it's because they are hard targets. It's something that we learned in the military. Always be a hard target. Don't ever present a soft target, because just like in Afghanistan, the people trying to kill you, they don't necessarily always want to pick fights with the guys that are set up to fight, you know?
Right.
So if you're out there,
right.
if you're out there scuffing your feet and, you know, put your weapon down and lay down on a rock and go walk 50 yards away and take a piss or do whatever else you're doing, then that is ripe for an ambush when you're not expecting it and when you're least effective. It's the same thing back at home. Bad guys decide to do bad things to softer people.
That's exactly right. And you know what? Anti-gun people that think none of us should be armed, they would like me and you just fine when the armed guy walks into the store they're in if we're there with them.
Yeah. Yep.
They wouldn't have a bit of problem in the world with us exercising our Second Amendment rights if their skin was on the line. The best way to, avoid being a soft target is to think these things through and make sure you're in a position where you can be a hard target.
Right. Yeah. You can just see it. You know, someone walks in with a gun and here comes Dwayne Phillips and puts him down. And there's someone over there like, man, that Dwayne Phillips, he's a real jackass for bringing that gun into the grocery store like that. What an asshole. Like, he should not have done that. It's a gun-free zone, Dwayne.
Yeah. It's unfortunately sometimes when you live in a society such as America, we are so privileged. We have so many freedoms, and we have such a posh lifestyle compared to the vast majority of the world that you forget. Mm-hmm. You become so spoiled sometimes in your security that you forget what it takes to maintain that, and you forget what it took to get you there, and you set yourself up for the great fall.
Yep.
I mean, if you take away the American right to bear arms, our culture is going to de-evolve so quickly. Can you imagine what it would be like? Let's just say we have more supply chain woes. Let's say that we, for whatever reason, a lot of our suppliers decide to cut us off from petroleum or from whatever the product is that everyday Americans have grown so accustomed to that they can't live without. Mm-hmm. And the grocery store shelves are bare, or there's lines like they were, decades ago at the gas stations. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what that would be like if the bad guys were in charge and the average American didn't have the ability to stand up to them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's crazy. And it's one of those things, too. Like, we saw it during the whole pandemic thing, is that, when the grocery shelves started getting bare, people started getting really riled up. And I still, I don't think they've come out with any surveys or reports or anything saying this, but I still fully believe that there has been a huge crime surge because of the impact of shutting down the economy for so long and destroying so many people's lives. And it did exponentially more damage than any economist or any government employee could have foreseen. Honestly, I really do believe that, especially at minimum, the riots that were happening during the whole deal were a direct result of being locked away in their houses on lockdown for so long. And it's the same kind of thing. Like, we allowed that to happen because of public safety. So it's the same thing where like you were saying too, it's like, they're kind of whittling away or poking in to see what they can get away with. Same with this ATF brace ruling. They're really trying just to prod the enemy lines and see, okay, hey, how pissed off are they going to be about a butt stock for these pistols? If they throw a huge hissy fit about it, we can really just dumb it down and say it's just a little piece of plastic. It's not even that integral. Like, we're not saying you can't have the weapon. We're saying you have to follow these rules. Oh, and hey, by the way, during the 120 days that is a 120-day period. During the 120 days, we'll waive the $200 tax fee.
Right.
We'll waive that for you.
Just put your name on our list.
If you just put your name on this list, and it's not that big of a deal. It's really not. Just write your name on the list, tell us what you have, and tell us where you got it. That's all.
Yeah, give us the serial number, send us a picture. Give us your fingerprints too, by the way.
That's all we're asking.
And your home address.
And we'll waive the tax fee. We're not even asking for your money. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Just shut up and do it.
Yeah, we don't really know if you have it or not. Just voluntarily give it to us.
Yeah. Just let us know. We won't do anything with it. I promise. I promise we won't do anything weird with it. We're just putting it into our little database just so we have it, just in case someone comes into your house and steals it and then uses it on a crime during a crime. Then we'll know where to start. We'll start with you and realize that you got burglarized, and then we'll really find that burglar that got away with stealing your 308 pistol with a brace on it.
Well, plus, I mean, let's face it. Most people that are first-time gun buyers, they don't go out and buy an AR pistol with an arm brace on it.
Right.
That's not the first-time gun buyer typically.
Typically, yeah.
So if you get a list of everyone that has an arm brace, you've captured a large swath of the gun owners in America on this list.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good, really good point.
Right. So you're pretty certain that these guys have a lot of other guns too. So let's say, I don't know, let's say 50% of the multi-gun owners out there have bought a gun with a pistol brace on it. You get them on the list, then you've got 50% of the people in America right there already on your list. But,
yep.
You know, and I would be doing your listeners a disservice if I didn't at least run through some of the high points that came from the presentation the ATF gave me. Even though maybe it was a bit ambiguous, just for the sake of clarity for your listeners, because there's a lot of misinformation. Oh, Lord, I can't believe I just used that word. Of bad information out there on this topic, you know, and a lot of people are just lost and don't know what they should do. So I'll give you the skinny version of it right now.
Okay, and we don't know. Maybe there's someone out there listening that's smarter than us too. That can hear something you're saying.
To be the expert.
Yeah, and they can hear what you're saying and they go, okay, yeah, actually this, you know, I don't know. So yeah, we definitely touch on that. We need to cover that for sure.
All I'm going to do, and I will pre-season this by saying I am not giving you legal advice. Don't come back and sue me or Red Arrow Weapons or the podcast or anybody else, because I am not telling you what to do. All I'm doing is sharing information that I receive.
Yep.
As I understand it, which is my personal opinion. Basically, any flat surface other than a buffer tube on an AR pistol is going to be considered a short-barreled rifle. And with that being said, the weapon that you're looking at has to require the buffer tube to function properly. So if there's a buffer tube with a buffer tube spring required for the action of the gun, that's fine. Even if the end of it's flat. That's okay as long as you don't have a pistol brace on it. And, you know, they weren't even really clear. They said as long as the buffer tube is a pistol buffer tube, approximately 6 to 6.5 inches, that's okay, even if it has a flat end on it. And you know, if you want to keep it with an arm brace or put a buttstock on it, that's fine. As long as you do it before May 31st, you can get it free of charge, and you go on the list and you jump through all the hoops, give them their fingerprints, the pictures of the guns, the serial numbers, your address, and everything they're asking for. And, you know, you have some options, and here are your options.
Well, just real quick, before we get off the buffer tube thing. So, to my understanding, I thought that it had to be permanently modified so it can't take a pistol brace or buttstock.
So that's an important point, and they did clarify that a couple of times in the presentation. So you don't need to do anything to modify the actual buffer tube itself. What they did say is if you need to remove the arm brace, you can even keep the arm brace because it's just a part. It's legal to own. It's legal to sell. You can have it as long as you have another firearm that it will fit on. That's fine. Like, for example, if you have a 300 blackout rifle, and you have a 300 blackout pistol, take the brace off of that pistol or take the lower off of that pistol, and then you can swap that lower out with the rifle barrel that's 16 inches long back and forth, and it's perfectly legal to have. But if the only gun I have that arm brace will fit is the pistol, then that is going to be deemed owning an SBR, even if you don't have it fully assembled. If you just have the parts to assemble it, then they're going to deem it an SBR unless you have another firearm that pistol brace will fit.
No shit.
So they want you to destroy or dispose of the pistol brace, the plastic pistol brace at that point. You can keep the buffer tube that it fit on, that's fine. But you can't have the plastic brace in your possession if you don't have another gun it will fit on. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
When it gets rather ambiguous, but
Yep.
beyond that, you know, I can continue to sell pistol braces and I can continue to sell AR pistols. I just can't sell them together. And I can't advise anyone to put them together. But if a private citizen wants to buy the pistol and then buy the pistol brace and register with the government, they're perfectly legal in doing that. So your other options, you know, you can remove the pistol brace, destroy it if you don't have anything else that will fit on. This is what they actually led off with. You could destroy the firearm. Not going to happen. I'm not going to take a metal saw and chop up my gun. It's not happening.
No, that's silly.
So, you know, if you can't stand the pain of that, you can always take the pistol and just turn it in and hand it over to the ATF and let them have it. That's not going to happen either.
No.
So you could also add a 16-inch barrel on it. We've seen a surge in people that are looking to get longer barrels or either complete uppers with a 16-inch barrel to put on their, you know, their pistol lower that has the arm brace. Mm-hmm. At that point, you no longer have an SBR or a pistol. If it has a 16-inch barrel, then it's become a rifle.
Then it's become a rifle. Yep.
Yeah. Or you can, you know, like I said, you can fill out the paperwork. You can go on the list with the government and register it as an SBR. And, you know, despite some theories up front, and actually I wouldn't even say theories, because of the lack of information, if there's a void, people are going to fill it with their best guess. Mm-hmm. Up front, they did not even address the fact that there's no way they're going to be able to complete all this paperwork, even if a fraction of the people send in the registration for an SBR. If they're estimating up to 40 million of them in America, even if 10% of the people register it as an SBR, there's no way for years they're going to catch up on the paperwork.
Absolutely no way. So that's why that 120-day rule is complete bullshit,
right?
Because they had no intention, absolutely zero intentions of giving the citizens even a moderate chance of doing it the right way, because that is crazy. That is it takes like 6 to 9 months to get a fucking suppressor. Like that, right? That's been around forever. That they've been doing this paperwork on for a long time, and they still take 6 to 9 months.
Well, they did say in the presentation. Now, this is them talking. I haven't seen this in writing anywhere, but they did tell us on the presentation, if you have proof that you submitted the application and have an SBR, even though it may not have been approved, that they'll honor that because of their backlog. Now,
okay, but then it gets
that's just what they verbally said.
But then it gets so then you submit the paperwork, you forgot to cross a T and dot an I. It gets denied. Now you're a felon.
Oh, well, let me tell you something. Everyone that still has a pistol brace on their pistol with a barrel less than 16 inches right now was immediately a felon beginning at the end of January when they passed the rule or wrote the rule into the register. So they're just giving you, they're just giving possession as of the day it published in the Federal Register made it effective.
I thought it wasn't. I didn't think it was effective until March. I thought the 120-day deal was the effective
the end of January. No, that's just the deadline on the free ticket. You don't have to pay the $200 fee until then. But you know, if they roll in my house today and find me with a bunch of pistol braces and I haven't even tried the process, technically they could charge me with something because the rule passed effective that day, and you just have a 120-day grace period to waive the fee. Jeez. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't roll around in fear, but just out of common sense, that day I went and took the braces off of the pistols that I had in my possession because, you know, I want to be a law-abiding citizen. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and, you know, with what I feel like there's going to be someone that's going to be made the example.
Yeah.
In this fray before it's over. I don't want to be the example. I want to be a law-abiding citizen. And personally, I have a lot of options other than a gun with a pistol brace on it. So I don't roll around in fear. Like, sure, I'll take my brace off until we sort this out. But you know what? I'm still going to defend myself with all the other options I've got.
Absolutely.
But, you know, and that's the reason there were so many people just sitting there primed, so many organizations primed. That's why you have 2 major lawsuits filed already. You have the Gun Owners of America, you have the NRA, and a combination of 26 states already that have jumped on board with these lawsuits in North Dakota and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Great places to file a lawsuit, by the way. That are already suing the government for this rule because you can't make laws if you're not an elected official.
Yep.
And
that was a whole nother thing I wanted to touch on because we kind of touched on it earlier. But yeah, the ATF. So you mentioned when it passed. So how did the ATF, did anyone ask a question or did they explain what was the process of getting this passed? Like, what did they have to do?
You mean the rule itself?
Yeah, the rule itself. Like, what did the ATF have to do in order to get this passed? Was it just the ATF director came down and said, yeah, we're doing this? Or was it like was there a process? Who decided to put,
I think there was a process. I can tell you what I think the process was.
Well, I mean, like, did the ATF during your little deal with them? Did they talk about that at all? Like how it was passed, or have you heard anything that actually makes sense on the process that the ATF went through?
Sure, it's because we said so.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's what I thought. I didn't know if you knew anything more than that.
Well, let's back up and look at it. So, I mean, this has been a topic of conversation for a little while now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ATF was the one that approved pistol braces. They are the ones that said, this is fine, you can use this, right? And there's been a little bit of back and forth over the years, but ultimately they said, no, this is fine. And they put out, over the past couple of years, they put out this score sheet that everybody was, looking at because they were going to try to put out a score sheet so you could score your firearm to determine whether it was actually an SBR or a pistol. It had these features or that features. It was all on a point system, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And that thing was so screwed up from the beginning. Nobody could figure it out. Even they couldn't figure it out. So they just scrapped that. That's what they put out all the way up until the day they released the rule. Everyone was looking at this score sheet, and then all of a sudden they said, ATF says, yeah, no, we're going to go this other direction. Here it is. But the fact, let me just get on this soapbox for a minute because my heart goes out for a lot of these manufacturers.
Oh, yes.
There was a manufacturer that we partner with in our firearms. They went out based off of this score sheet, redesigned their whole product, and held a product they were using, put money into manufacturing a new product that they thought would pass the score sheet. So they've got money out of their pocket. They've gone to all this trouble of making a new product that was completely redesigned, invested how much, I don't know, into research and development, all for the ATF just to say, yeah, no, our bad. We're just going to go a different direction. They're all outlawed.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can't play games with people's real life.
No.
And unfortunately, with a lot of people that may even be small American-owned businesses, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Because besides the big box stores like Cabela's, Shields, Bass Pro, and them, all the gun shops, they're all small businesses. They're all just normal people trying to make a living, doing what they love. Because the majority of gun shops at least the ones I've been to, the owners and everyone that works there, they love what they do. They're trying to pursue their version of the American dream. And for the federal government to come down and say, hey, you know what? And it's already a mess. Like, I don't know because I don't have an FFL and I'm not I don't own a gun shop or nothing like that. I'm not a dealer. But there's a lot of shit that goes into getting your FFL and becoming a dealer and being in this business. There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through. And after you finally get through all those hoops and you're like, now I can do what I want. Now I can finally follow my dream and do what I want to do and make enough money to have a family and raise them right and do whatever, follow my version of the American dream. And for the government, not even a government agency, to come down and say, nope, sorry, all that time in R&D and everything else that you're saying earlier, it's like that's all scrap because now it's illegal. Yeah. And a lot of these anti-gunners that look around, they're like, yeah, screw this. Like, it's all for profit. Like, the NRA is ran by a huge gun lobby, ran by these huge gun shop corporations. So it's all about greed and money. I've heard that on so many different. I've read that on a lot of different articles and heard that from so many different people where it's all about greed and they don't care about the people dying because they want money in their pocket. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. I completely agree with that. And, but there's still hope. I mean,
there is.
I do have to hope and believe that this is all going to go the route of the bump stock.
Oh, yeah.
That was perfect timing. Right before all this came out, the court said, no, you can't do this. You can't make laws like this. This is not the way the American system works. And what do? They go ahead and try it again.
Yeah, exactly. For something different. And the bump stock thing was different because that was written into executive order by President Trump.
Right.
That was actually...
That was even more powerful than this.
That was even more powerful than this. Like, this rule, this ATF rule, if it holds water, then there is some shit going down. I don't think that's going to hold water. Yeah. I really do think that's going to get overturned. But the problem is, what are they going to do in between there? How long does it take for this to get overturned? And what are they going to do in between that time? How many people are going to be made an example of during that time?
And that's the problem, is the in-between time.
Exactly. And how many people are going to be scared to try anything else, after this is all said and done?
Well, and you have states like Kristi Noem out in South Dakota said, nope, not going to happen. We're not going to enforce this. And you got so many law enforcement agencies that are saying, nope, we're not going to have anything to do with this, ATF. We are not going to do we're not going to lift a finger to enforce this rule for you because this is not okay. Even in Illinois, with a different subject, with their ban they have in place.
Oh, geez. Yep.
Almost all of the sheriffs in that state said, no, we're not going there, and we're not going to have any part of this.
All the sheriffs in that state, minus if you just drew a nice little circle around Chicago and the surrounding area, everywhere else in that state was like, this is crazy.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing is going on with this rule as well about the pistol braces. I mean, so the National Firearms Act came about because in generations past, there were a lot of bad guys, right? There were a lot of gangsters out there that were using these style guns to, do their business and such. So the government passed this National Firearms Act. But they didn't pass that act because law-abiding citizens were out there shooting each other in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the law-abiding citizens are the ones that are bearing the brunt of this. This wasn't in response to some mass crime wave in America. This was all about control and all about, we're going to tell you what you can and what you can't have, law-abiding citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't comply, we will take you out.
Yep. Absolutely. And if you do your research and look back on the reason why the NFA became a thing in the first place, it's because is during a time when there's rampant organized crime in America. And the reason why there's rampant organized crime in America was because of the prohibition. You couldn't sell alcohol in America during that time. So it opened this huge floodgate of black market booze in America. If anyone does any history knows any sort of history whatsoever, they know what I'm talking about. When the Prohibition era with Al Capone and all the other organized crime syndicates and bootleggers, it made certain people very, very wealthy and boosted this huge organized crime wave in America because the supply went down because it was outlawed. So law-abiding citizens were like, okay, we can't make whiskey anymore. That sucks. But the demand didn't go away. So therefore, that demand was met with bootlegged black market booze. And there's a lot of crime that came along with that. Whenever you deal with gangs and cartels and organized crime and everything else, when you're dealing with that, there's a lot of, murders and other stuff that goes along with that business. And honestly, because of the prohibition, in America. It propped up these organized crime syndicates and made them wealthier than the majority of the cops in the area, where cops didn't have Tommy guns because the department couldn't afford them. But Al Capone and his guys, they could afford them because they had the money because of a weird prohibition on alcohol at the time. So it's one of those other things. Like that's a whole nother multifaceted problem that led to the NFA, is that we were prohibiting adults from what they can and cannot put in their bodies, and that started a whole black market in America. And now we're stuck with this NFA deal, the National Firearms Act. We're stuck with it, and we have to deal with it now and try to work around it and still do what we want as Americans and get the tools that we deem necessary to defend ourselves. And the government, the federal government, they're doing their damnedest to make sure that we don't do it.
Well, I can tell you this: my heart really goes out to the good men and women that live in our border states right now.
Yeah,
and I say that because of this. I've known a lot of very petite ladies that can handle an AR.
Oh, sorry.
No, that can handle an AR pistol like nobody's business. It fit their frame just right. You take a 300 blackout with a 13-inch barrel or even a 10-inch barrel and a pistol brace on it. It fits a petite frame lady just perfect. And you've got a lot of ranchers out there that are facing unprecedented invasion, because let's call it what it is. It's invasion of their territory. I mean, by the hundreds of thousands every month coming across the border carrying drugs, nefarious intentions, whatever the case. And now you're limiting their ability to defend themselves and what they see as an American invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're going to come and put this limitation in place right at that moment. We're going to turn our back. We're going to turn a blind eye on the border and say, it's okay. You can carry over as much fentanyl as you want. You can have as much cartel influence as you want. And we're only going to enforce on a minimal basis. But hey, American, if you show up with a pistol brace on the gun, we're going to put you in prison. And we're going to label you a domestic terrorist.
Yep.
Something is wrong with that scenario.
Oh, there's a lot of things wrong with that scenario. It's insane to think that, as Americans, we're still there's still so many forces out there in government, whether it's a government agency or the federal government itself, whether it's the senator or the president or whoever. There's so many, and the lobbyists, the anti-gun groups, they market themselves as safety groups or, we'll say moms for common sense gun control. It's like, okay, that sounds nice. You take a group of moms and they're like, oh yeah, moms are nice. I like my mom. And you take common sense, common sense. Like, I know what common sense is. It's something that as a society we should all agree on. And then you add in gun control at the end. You take these nice things and then you put in gun control at the end. So it makes it really hard. It makes it a little bit harder for us to argue against, right? It's crazy that there's still all these groups, and these groups are filled with Americans that just, I don't know if they want to see us disarmed for whatever else, or or maybe they actually believe that, getting these guns out of our hands will actually save the next life of being shot. I don't know what they actually think.
I can tell you what to do with gun control. Gun control is not a bad thing. It could be a great thing. Let's put a gun in the hand of every law-abiding American and teach them how to control it.
Yep.
That's gun control.
Yep.
And then every bad guy that wants to come and do bad things to them, they can control their gun to stop it. Mm-hmm. That's gun control.
That's gun control. That's what I'm talking about. It reminds me of that scene in Black Hawk Down where he's like, oh, hey, the Ranger, your safety is off, or whatever he said. And he's like, sir, this is my safety. And he bends his pointer finger. He's like, this is my safety. It's like, well, this is my gun control. I'm controlling my guns just fine. So get out of here.
I mean, I am a huge supporter of gun safety.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to own firearms, you need to know how to control them and how to maintain them and how to manage them in a safe manner. You need to know how to store them in a safe manner. And that doesn't necessarily mean they all have to be locked up in the safe. Yep. It just means that you need to use common sense and make sure that your guns are being managed in a safe manner.
Yep. And that's why I'm a big advocate for putting guns back into schools. Because like you said, back, I don't know about my parents, but there was a time in America where having guns in school was commonplace. Like,
sure.
Students would drive their trucks into school and they'd have a 30-30 in the back window, or,
sure.
Remington, whatever. They'd have a gun in their back window for, going deer hunting that night or whatever, for whatever reason. They lived out in the country and they need it in their truck because they never know what they're going to encounter on the side of the road or when they get in their back at home. And certain schools back in the day used to have guns in class. Like they used to go over gun safety and all that stuff in school. Like,
absolutely. Even I'm not that old of a guy. I mean, I'm 48, which, I mean, back when I was 20, I thought I was an old guy, but now I'm not an old guy.
Right.
And even when I was in high school, we completed one of the first hunter education courses that came out, included qualifying and shooting bows and arrows and everything else in school, because that's just what they did. That was normal. And when you start recreating normal, we get into all kind of problems.
Yep. No, yeah. Oh, that opens up a whole other can of societal worms,
That was a little bait for you. I was wondering if you were going to bite on that.
But no, you're absolutely right. Like once society starts shifting towards a new normal, things get real dicey.
Absolutely,
real
because
dicey.
There's nothing but chaos and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's not clarity, people just start filling in the blanks.
Absolutely. And it's crazy because in this country too, it wasn't that long ago either where being American rifleman, like that was a saying where in America you were an American rifleman, where we have these freedoms to have guns and have rifles and do what we see, do what we need to do with them. But there was this classification of everyone that has a gun as an American rifleman, where how to safely handle a firearm, how to accurately shoot that firearm, and how to properly store it. And it's your duty to pass that on to your children. Because if you're going to have guns in your home, like you were saying earlier, if you're going to have guns in your home, you need to show it to your kids and teach them and train them with that firearm.
Absolutely.
So they can grow at a very young age to respect it, not be afraid of it, but to respect it. And if they encounter a time when they encounter a time where they have to use it, whether it's on a game animal or for self-defense, they aren't thinking about like, oh shit, like this is the safety, and then I need to point it this way and line these things up. That should all be second nature by the time that they're adults.
Absolutely. They should know how to handle it safely.
Yep.
And, beyond that, let me just throw something else at you that most people haven't even thought about. So when my parents were young, there was no less than 50 Westerns on every week, from Rawhide to Bonanza to whatever, to the riflemen, if you will, wanted dead or alive. Those guys were using guns, slinging lead, and standing up for what was right. And people didn't even lock their doors. They were so low crime.
Yep.
Now we've got movies where people are shooting it up, and bad guys are portrayed as heroes, and stealing cars in video games and killing people in video games is idolized, and we can't find a safe corner in the country. And they're trying to take our guns away.
Yep.
So, the public, I say that to demonstrate that the public is going to swallow what they're being fed.
Yes.
If they're being fed, be a good person, be a law-abiding citizen, but by golly, be prepared to stand up for yourself. That's what they're going to portray.
Yep.
If they're being taught to be a bunch of sheep and to lay down and hand over whatever is ordered of them and line up wherever they're told, that is what they're going to do.
Absolutely. And like just what you just said, being fed, you're going to become what you are fed, right? It's the same thing. Like,
Right.
okay, if you are into fitness at all, or if you work out, anyone that works out, it's a big thing that people talk about is like diet, like, oh yeah, I want to look a certain way, or I want to lift X amount of weights, or whatever you want to do, right? The number one thing is diet. Like, you have to get your diet under control. If you eat like shit, you're going to look like shit. It's the same kind of thing when you're talking in society. If you're being fed a bunch of, I don't even want to say this word, but if you're fed a bunch of propaganda and you believe it,
Right.
then you're going to become what they want you to become, I guess. You need to grow up questioning things, right? And you need to grow up questioning authority to a certain extent. And you can question authority in a respectful sense as well. And that is, in my opinion, that is a responsibility as an American, because this country was founded on people questioning authority and saying, do we really need to live like this? Or is there a better way? Is there a way where we can maximize freedom? And obviously that comes with a whole host of other problems, but those core values, those core American values that the Founding Fathers took time to write down on a big-ass piece of paper, saying these are our core values as Americans, and they will not be messed with. Whatever else is outside of this piece of parchment, everything else outside of this is up to the states. But as far as this goes, this is our core values as a nation. And then it is up to you as Americans to live your life and do whatever you need to do to find happiness, reach your goals, whatever you want to do. But as long as everything that's written down here, these are our core values. And whenever we should always take everything under a microscope whenever someone suggests that we should get rid of something off that core value sheet, right?
I like the fact that you compared it to exercise and taking in the right things to reach your goals, because you have to be selective about what you consume. Mm-hmm. And if you swallow everything that's fed you, sooner or later you're going to get something that's toxic.
Yep.
I mean, there's a reason that people figured out which mushrooms they could eat and which ones they couldn't along the way.
Yep.
And I can tell you right now that this ATF rule feels like a toxic mushroom to me.
Oh yeah, 100. It is 100%. Like, there's no way around it. Whether you agree with it or not, it is a toxic mushroom. And whether you're the one eating it and dying from it, or you're the one feeding it to those people, everyone knows what it is.
Absolutely,
everyone knows what it is, and it is meant to infringe on a certain group of people that they don't like. It's just, I mean, there's no nice way to say it. It's just the way it is.
Well, and this era that we're experiencing as gun owners is either going to be a defining moment for our freedom, or it's going to be a gateway to something much, much worse.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no way around it.
No.
So, people may feel helpless, but they're not helpless. You need to get out. Everyone needs to get out and make sure that their elected officials know where they stand. They need to understand that we as the American people are not okay with this. We're not okay with someone arbitrarily taking away our freedoms. Now, if we elect a bunch of officials and it's fair and they legitimately got elected, that's all I'm going to say about that, and end up there making rules for us, then by golly, that's what should stand until the next election comes around and I change my mind and put someone in there that represents what I believe.
But even if we do elect these people and then they turn, or even if they don't turn, say they ran on it, say they ran on taking away certain rights that certain people think, yeah, we don't need that right anymore because we're living in 2000. It's 2023. It's not 1776 anymore. Like, it made sense back then, but guess what? Times change. And we got to get with the times. So we got to amend the Constitution in order to get rid of certain things that maybe made sense back then, but they just don't make sense anymore. And I've heard that argument a million different times too, where, like, when it was written, it made sense because guns could only shoot one round every minute, we'll say, if you're, good with your flintlock. Or maybe if you're really
everyone
good,
else's gun was on the same level.
Yeah, but exactly. But so when it was written, that's what was happening. It wasn't no 30-round semi-automatic weapon where you could shoot, 100 rounds a minute, or 1,000 clip magazine. That wasn't a thing back then. So it made sense back then. But now we got to get with the times. And now we have to adapt to our changing times and get rid of these different little, I guess, if you want to call them rights. We need to get rid of those because they don't make sense anymore. But guess what? Guess what doesn't change? Human nature doesn't change that
Absolutely.
fast. And just like there was bad guys back in 1776, and there's bad guys back in 1584, and there's bad guys in 900 BC. Like there's bad guys no matter what, because that's just human nature. Some people just don't grow up and reach their full potential, so they want to drag other people down to their level. And sometimes that means stealing shit or killing people. It's just, there's bad people out there. And why this all boils down to defense of the nation, defense of yourself, defense of your families. It's just, I don't know. I think, I don't know if I beat that down enough, but it's just, we have to be very, very cautious of people that are trying to take away our rights, whether they're elected or not.
It's not even necessarily, if you want to even get to the main point, it's not even just about trying to take our freedom. I mean, our rights. It's about the freedom itself.
Yep.
So our country was founded on freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom to be who you are, as long as it's not infringing upon the rights of others. So with that in mind, I should have the right to own the firearms that I choose as a law-abiding citizen, as long as I'm not infringing on anyone else's right. The very moment that I start infringing on others' rights, that's when you should come after me. There's a reason that, we don't want bad guys, once they get caught and sentenced, to be able to come back and hurt us again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, there's some good people that get caught up in that, but that's for another show.
Yeah, exactly.
But, as long as what you're doing is not infringing on my rights, I may not like it, but I don't have the right to tell you you can't do what you want to do, as long as it's not morally wrong or infringing on my freedoms.
Yep.
But if we stand by and watch this go down the river, then the ship is going to sink.
Mm-hmm.
And our freedoms are going to be infringed, and we're no longer going to be the America that everyone has died trying to reach, because they just wanted a better life with the freedom to, pursue their dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things too where, back in 1776, they had, when they're writing it up, they took pause and they thought, and I really do think that they listed out in at least somewhat of an order of importance. And back then too, it was the printing press. Like they were printing each individual, like actually stamping and printing each individual newspaper. And they're like, we need to protect this because, King George wanted to shut it down when the newspapers are saying all the nasty stuff I was trying to do. I don't want everyone knowing all the nasty stuff I'm trying to do. So King George wanted to shut that down. And as Americans, we're like, no, we need to keep that, because that's the number one defense to tyranny. The number two defense is guns. And all these things that is listed out in a certain order for a reason. And, the First Amendment carries over to, I guess we could call them assault printers or fully automatic typewriters, being able to put it out to masses. Like I can go on my phone, right? My phone. I don't even have to be at my desk to write it. I can be on my phone and type out something ridiculous on my phone and broadcast it out to countless people, right?
To the world.
That was to the world. That was not something that was even a remote thought back then. But the Supreme Court, and as American society, we all want to protect that, because we all like being able to say what we want to say.
Well,
it's the same thing with guns.
So going all the way back to the beginning again, those people that established our Constitution, that fought for our freedom, they were willing to lay down their lives. Their families' lives were impacted. Oftentimes they lost family members. It was a matter of life and death for them to stand up for what was right.
Yep.
They fought, they won, they established our Constitution. As you said, they took pause and they thought it out very carefully. Mm-hmm. And they did the best job they could.
Yep.
And I can't think of a better way to honor them than to legitimately exercise our rights and our freedoms based off of our Constitution and not allowing anyone to come in with a different mindset that wants to recreate America and infringe upon them.
Yep. And we have to, exactly, you said it perfectly, where there was so much riding on their freedom, on their life. They were risking everything, risking it all. And George Washington was wealthy. Benjamin Franklin was wealthy. John Adams, they were all pretty wealthy. They're all pretty well off. They risked their financial future. They risked their life. They risked their family's life. They risked the generations after them. They risked everything to stand up and say, this is wrong, and we're gonna stop it or die trying. And
it's a huge disrespect.
It is a huge disrespect
to their accomplishment and their sacrifice by just treating it as something trivial and saying that doesn't really matter anymore.
Exactly. And as gun owners, because we're on this podcast and we are talking to, I don't think there's probably not a whole lot of anti-gunners listening to this podcast, but even speaking to the gun owners,
not any longer. I don't think. Yeah. I think they hung up probably about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, right. But speaking to the gun owners that are listening, it's like, what are we so scared of? Like, it's not even to that point where we need to really, we're not risking everything to stand up. Just stand up and say it. Like the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So we need to squeak a little bit louder and say, this is messed up. Like, we won't stand for this. This is not right. You guys are infringing on our rights as Americans, and we're not going to stand for it. I don't give a shit who you are, whether you're the federal government, the ATF, the FBI, or these anti-gun groups that, they probably do have good intentions, but they're still wrong. Whether they're good intentioned or ill intentioned, it's still wrong. And we still need to stand up and say, this is wrong and this is why.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And, thank you to everybody that has listened to my rambling thus far. But if you take nothing else, take this one message. Let's stand up together now for our freedoms and our rights so that we don't have to risk it all like our forefathers did down the road.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. There's really no other better way to say that. Like, we need to stand up and say enough is enough at this point. It's just what it's boiled down to. Well,
it's always easier to preserve what you have than to have to give everything to get it back.
Exactly. I think that's a great place to leave it. Dwayne, this has been amazing. I have loved having you on, and I'd love to have you on again to talk more about this. If we missed anything and we need to go back and hash some more things out, I'd love to have you back on.
It will be an honor and a privilege.
Well, I appreciate
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. Is there anything you wanted to personally plug at the end of this, whether it's, Red Arrow Weapons some more or whatever you got cooking? I'll leave this to your time.
Hey, look, you know what? Anyone can visit redarrowweapons.com and check us out. And the one thing I did forget to mention, a new thing last year that we implemented, we partnered with a company called Cordova because we believe everyone deserves to have a quality firearm. And if you feel like the price tag is still a bit high for you, you've got options, even interest-free options if you pay it off in the right time frame. So check us out, redarrowweapons.com. And thank you so much for having me on. It was indeed a pleasure.
I appreciate it. The pleasure's all mine. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. God bless.